and welcome to this week's episode of Shift Happens. We have a very special guest this week who I'm really excited to talk to. His name's Julez. He's an artist and he's also a remote viewer. So hi, Julez, and welcome. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
So tell us, what is remote viewing?
Okay, so remote viewing is something which is often confused with psychic functioning of all types, like clairvoyance, or sort of people are able to sort of naturally drift into a psychic state to see things, be it a potential or probable future, or something that's happened in the past, or just things which we can't normally pick up with our senses. Remote viewing itself, though, is quite specific, and for it to be called remote viewing, it has to follow a specific protocol. So for a remote viewer, the first thing, and probably the most important thing, is that they are blind to the target. So the subject that they're going to be looking at, they haven't got a clue. And more often than not, they'll be handed an arbitrary number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and someone has allocated a topic or a target to that series of numbers. And so the remote viewer gets the arbitrary number, writes it down, and then will start receiving information based on that. And that's all the information they get. And what they think is happening, it's one of those things that no one knows how it works. Yeah. But they think it's the subconscious mind, and we've got obviously the conscious mind, and the subconscious mind is tapping into something out there, and drawing this information from, you might call it the akasha, the know-all, the everything, the universe, and you can actually perceive some very interesting things, and your senses can all be triggered from smells, tastes. You can visually see things in your mind, and there are different sort of modalities, different ways of doing remote viewing. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
So with the remote viewing, is it somebody that is an expert? Do they get random people to come in and do remote viewing? Do they have any experience?
It depends on who's doing it. It was initially started in the 70s, and it was the American military set up a remote viewing protocol because they realized that the Russians during the Cold War were employing psychics to gain various forms of information as an intelligence gathering. And what the Americans effectively did was there were two scientists, two laser physicists who were working at Stanford Research Institute in America. And one particular guy, Hal Puthoff, had realized that the Russians were training psychics to actually look into basically what the Americans were doing there. So it was an alternative form of intelligence gathering. And in a panic, basically, the Americans thought, well, we needed to be on top of this as well. So they brought in natural psychics. One guy in particular is a guy called Ingo Swann, who was an artist from New York. And he was a very gifted natural psychic. And through his own abilities there, Ingo Swann with the guys at SRI, which Stanford Research Institute, they engineered how Ingo actually was able to see things and to sort of descend his consciousness out there. And they developed this remote viewing program. And it's basically something that anyone can do, anyone can learn. Like musical instruments, you will have virtuosos and you'll have people that will fumble and play. And remote viewing is very much the same. So yeah, it's something that can be taught. So initially it was an American, the most famous group was called the Stargate Project, and it was an American military protocol. But nowadays there are people all over the world doing remote viewing, and yeah, I've been one of them.
Which is so exciting. So did you train how to remote view, or are you one of these people that it just happened to?
I was I'd always consider myself about as psychic as a brick.
Yeah.
Up until the late 90s, I'd had a very strange history. I suppose I'm an ordinary person that's had some extraordinary things happen.
Yeah.
And so from very young as a child there, I had what I first of all considered to be ghostly type occurrences. Later it looked like it might have had something to do with UFOs and such like.
Oh, you're allowed to say that on here, especially to me.
having no frame of reference to describe what I was seeing as a kid, I figured these things were ghosts. One of my earliest memories is being in a cot and a sphere, a giant orb, possibly about the size of a...
Oh, I've gone... Goosey, have you? Yeah.
If my hair stands on me, let's take someone's eye.
In the cot? That young?
In the cot. And there was this ball of light just hovering in my bedroom. And I couldn't tell you how long it was there for, how it got in. And it took off at some point. And that stayed with me.
Yeah.
And I've, in latter years, I started... getting a lot of strange experiences happening. I started getting these strange dreams. I started drawing a hell of a lot. And I was painting. Both of my parents were artists. And I was just hammering out all of these drawings. A lot of them were strange characters in the night and odd things. This sort of led me down looking into the whole UFO thing. We'd seen UFOs as children. I'm sort of skipping a little bit backwards and forwards.
No, that's fine.
And through sort of following up on this and studying this and trying to actually find answers to what it was that was occasionally popping up in my life there, I came across in about 1997, I came across a book called Cosmic Voyage. And this was written by a social scientist called Courtney Brown. And he'd spent time actually working with the Stargate remote viewers there. He'd been trained. So he'd put this book together, and this is the first time I'd ever heard of remote viewing, and I'm thinking, what the hell is this? This is amazing.
Yeah.
And one of the things they were talking about, these remote viewers, these military guys, were very interested in looking at UFOs, extraterrestrial intelligences. And I'm thinking, this is right up my street.
Yeah.
So, short story long, as that's been. How did I start with the remote viewing? I first of all found online, and it was about 1997, a website by a guy called Gerald O'Donnell, who had a series of cassette tapes, and he offered this remote viewing and remote influencing course. And I thought, I'm going to do it. It's about $500. I was living in Australia at the time, and I got these cassettes. And very nervously, I put on the headphones, and I didn't really know what to expect. And it said, lie down, make yourself comfortable. And so I did this, lay back, headphones on, and there were some binaural beats going on. So it's to bring your brainwaves down, sort of through alpha, through into a theta or theta brainwave state. And my intention was to predict the crop circles that were going to appear in the UK, so on the other side of the world from Adelaide, where I was at the time.
Oh wow!
And that was what I wanted to do. I
thought,
can I predict that? I'll give that a crack. Yeah. So I get into this state. Yeah. I'm starting to go down, and I'm down and down, and the next thing I know, my heart starts pounding. I've got rapid eye movement. I honestly thought I was having some kind of heart attack or a fit.
Really?
And this has only ever happened once. It was the first time. And then it was just streams of images, just one after the other, just hitting me. And this guy in the headphones is saying, don't stick on anything, just register it, let it go. I'm thinking, bloody hell.
Wow.
It was really
that is so cool. I love it. So when you're saying streams, what were they? Images?
It was images, images.
Code or?
It was all images, all images. Yeah. And I was trying to make note of what these images were, but it was so fast, fast. And I came out of this session. It was about a 45-minute session or so, and I was quite shaken up.
Yeah.
And I'd taken I got a pen and a pad, and I tried to sketch as much as I possibly could that I could remember. But it was such a fast down, and that was my first thing into remote viewing. It never happened like that again, but that was the opening situation, and. Drew these pictures. Back then, the internet was incredibly slow. It was really, really slow. You'd wait about 40 minutes for a picture to download. All of the buzzing for the phone line. And I discovered in England there was a website called the Crop Circle Connector.
Yeah.
And they had these guys who were flying around the crop circle fields in the UK, and bloody hell, I actually noticed that some of the pictures I was getting, or very close facsimiles, were appearing in the fields in the coming weeks.
Really?
And I was just absolutely stunned, and I couldn't believe it.
Was that because you'd set your intention before you lay down? You set your intention, and
Yeah.
that was what?
That was
Okay.
it. Yeah. So that was like a big push. And I started, exploring different things. I started playing with it there. I didn't really understand all of the protocols. That didn't come until sort of much later. So I went in sort of with very much a novice entry into remote viewing, which sometimes isn't the wisest thing. I did some things which weren't particularly good.
Sink or swim.
Well, a little bit like that. But
sometimes it's
yeah. Well, I mean, this does get sort of interesting. I was so excited by what was happening. I was ringing my mum in the UK saying, "Mum, I've just got into this remote viewing stuff, and it's bloody incredible." And the first test I just did with her, and I said previously I was psychic as a brick, and I don't generally consider myself psychic at all, but I'm occasionally able to go in and see things, and it's quite amazing. So this instance, I'm speaking to Mum. I'm in Adelaide, she's in Cornwall, and I said, pick something in the house. This is a house I'd never visited, and she said, okay, I've got something. And so I tried to put myself into a theta state, and in doing so I just had this picture, these random cones, conical shapes, like dunce's hats or cornetto ice creams.
Yeah,
lots of them.
Yeah,
all of these things, these cone shapes. And I said, I cannot imagine what it is that you're actually looking at in the house. And my mum, I know the kind of decor you're going to have. I can't imagine what you've got. And she said, well, what I'm actually looking at is a woven basket full of pine cones. And so that the symbology there was, she's looking at cones. She's looking at cones. And
it's mad, isn't it?
It's mad. It is completely mad.
I just love it. Have you heard of somebody called Elizabeth April? She's an American. She's really big, and she's been remote viewing since she was young.
Right. Okay.
But I kind of had the impression that when you remote view, you don't just see it, you kind of go there. Is that wrong, or is that how you advance?
There's all there are.
It presents in different ways.
It does, people. Yeah, and there are different modalities or methods of doing remote viewing. Perhaps the most famous method is called controlled remote viewing.
Yeah,
a viewer will sit there. They'll take the target, the series of random numbers. They'll write this down. They'll jot down. Or they get an automatic body response, and they get an ideogram, and that ideogram is the first contact with the site. And so they start probing this little squiggle that they've put on the page, and then they'll start describing things, never naming things. One of the important things is not to name what you think you're seeing, because the subconscious mind is giving you various bits of information, and your conscious mind is wanting to say, oh, that's sort of round and it's orange, it's a ball.
Yeah.
And if you get that, you have to declare it. If you get something popping into your head, and just describe, so it's it's round, it's spherical, it's orange, it's got a smell, it's got a taste. So that's controlled remote viewing, and that works through several different stages. And you build up a picture as you go along, and you sort of gather all the information, describing. Sometimes you'll start to draw, sometimes you'll see things. Another method of remote viewing, which is my favourite and the one I really fall back on, is called extended remote viewing, which is putting yourself into a theta state there. So that's eyes closed, and that's visual minds, images popping through. And to answer the question, are you actually there? This is called bilocation. So to be aware that you're actually in where you are at the current time, but you can also be somewhere else, and to actually view a target. And in all the years I've done it, so we're talking since 1997 when I first started, I've bilocated twice. Once was, or actually both times was by accident. And the first occasion, once again, I was going in with the intent of predicting or seeing crop circles that would happen in a probable future. And instead of seeing anything like that, I suddenly found myself floating above this. I only describe it as it looked, to look at it like a sculpture or a statue, and it was this sort of whitish shape like this with this black sort of face type thing. No actual face, just this black disc at the front. And this was emanating the most incredible energy from it there. It was like being at a rock concert without sound, standing in front of the Marshall amps.
Oh,
I felt like I
really?
was being blasted by energy. And I got the this is almost like being in the presence of a god. If this thing was just blasting, it didn't care that I was there. It didn't register me. It was neither sort of benevolent. It was just indifferent to me, and I was just floating around this thing, and I got this sensation that it was just a complete massive intelligence, and it was just radiating this intelligence. So that was
wow. And you didn't know where you were.
I had no idea. I was floating in this sort of like a hazy, mauvey coloured place, and my Facebook profile is actually this symbol.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Have you? Yeah.
That's this symbol.
Yeah.
I've been trying to work out for years what it was, and hopefully find someone who's seen it as well, so I can somehow come up and get some kind of answer. The closest I've actually seen is the goddess imagery, which you quite often see, which is something quite similar in its shape, and there's this sort of disc there. The second bilocation experience I'd had, and it was a bit silly, it's a bit of fun. Friends of mine and I would set each other remote viewing targets, and we'd draw a picture or stick some cutouts from a magazine into an envelope, and we'd number the envelope and say, right, your target is envelope number 14, and so on. So we'd do this. And one particular day I thought, well, I'll see where these friends are, and I thought I'm going to actually try and mentally see what's happening down in the local village pub. As you do.
Yeah, as you do.
I quite like pubs. I'm a big fan of pubs. So this was my intention. But what threw me this time was instead of me sort of being aware that I was just lying on the bed with a set of headphones on, I suddenly found myself in the car park of the pub, and I'm looking and I'm thinking, bloody hell. And I could feel the wind, and I thought, this is really strange. I thought, okay, let's go into the pub. And I thought, no, I'm not going to go through the door. I'm going to go through the wall.
I love it.
Through the
It's like Harry Potter and the Invisible Stone.
Well, the pub itself there, a shout out to my local pub, pub down in Cornwall, the Queen's Arms in Batallic. It's a really old building, several hundred years old. It's got really thick granite walls. Yeah. And I thought, I'm just going to push myself through the other side and see what happens. So I walked at the wall, and as I got to it, I felt this resistance. But it was the strangest sensation I think I'd ever felt whilst remote viewing. And the only way I can try and explain it, as I passed through the granite, it was almost like liquid passing through chalk. And if you can imagine that very condensed, thick powder and liquid trying to somehow squeeze through. Yeah. And I eventually got to the other side, and I got to the other side, and I thought I was going to throw up. I felt like it was popped through the wall. And
so you didn't fancy a pint when you got in there, then?
Well, not immediately. Then. I got through to the other side, and I'm looking sort of directly up the bar, and in front of me, I saw this person with like a blue. I couldn't quite make out a blue or a green shirt on. And the shirt was untucked. It was like a collared button shirt, but it was untucked and hanging down the back of the bar stool. And the next thing I'm back in the room, and I thought, bloody hell, that was amazing. Yeah, that was quite amazing. Yeah. So I hopped into the car
and off to the pub.
Headed down to the pub
through the door.
Yeah,
through the door. I did try against the granite, but I knackered my nose up. Yeah. So I went in through the door the regular way, and the first thing I actually saw were two friends of mine who were actually sitting at the bar, and then just to the left where I saw them was this person. It wasn't. I thought it was a man. I took it to be a man when I was in state, but it was actually a woman, just very short hair, wearing a blue shirt, it was collared, it was untucked, and I walked in and I'm grinning like a Cheshire cat. And my two friends, Sue, she said, "What are you grinning at?"
Yeah.
I said, I just can't explain it.
I walked through the wall. There you go.
I mean, I drew a picture. When I was at home, I drew a picture of what I'd seen, and I had a crappy old sort of Starship Enterprise flip phone at the time. So I walked to the position that I'd actually entered the room in the remote viewing session, and surreptitiously took a shot of this person. And when I got it home, interestingly, when I crossed the two images over, they almost lined up perfectly.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
incredible, isn't it?
That was quite but that's one of two times. Normally when doing a remote viewing session, images and the things that come through it's like if you now try and remember a dream, and you've got a soft image, but you're not watching TV. It's not a clear image. It's a bit like a memory, and you describe as best you possibly can and sort of put it down.
Does it take, when you've done it, when you had that experience by going through the wall, when you came back into consciousness, did you feel tired? Did you feel...
On that particular occasion, I felt elated.
I just had the image of the film Ghost with Whoopi Girl. That's her surname, and then the spirits coming in and she channels, and then it really makes her really tired after. I just had that image of you.
The extended remote viewing, quite often I have just fallen asleep, and when I first started, I was ringing this guy who set up the course in America, and he said, to be honest, Jules, he said, if I'd sold this as a sleep aid, I probably would have made a hell of a lot more money.
Oh gosh,
he said,
really?
Because people just drop off when they're just listening to it. You just get really relaxed. But more often than not, I was always so very excited to get down the data and draw the images as quickly as I could and try and remember it. And in latter years, with the advent of technology and your mobile phone, when you can have a voice activated recorder, I'd use my phone as a monitor. And so in this theta state, I would call out what it was that I was seeing, and so that I could remember everything.
That's brilliant.
It's similar to having someone jot it down.
Exactly.
It's quite strange. I always sound a little bit sleepy and a bit drunk when I'm doing it. It's always very muffled. So I'm trying to work out what it is that I've listened, what I've actually said on the recording, and then from there I'll go in and I will draw as best as I can from my memory, from those prompts that I've left myself on the recording.
So what's the difference between remote viewing? So for me, obviously I've trained in Reiki, and part of doing the healing, we did distance healing. Mm-hmm. So you would have permission from the person, you'd have their name, obviously you use some symbols, and then you would link into the energy of that person, and then you would pick up symptoms or possibly maybe their environment. I mean, is there a difference between...
It all uses the same thing. I mean, it's just generally known as psi now, which is a conglomeration of all the various things there.
Yeah.
But all of these things, telekinesis, psychokinesis, all of the clairvoyance, clairaudience, the hearing, they're all linked. Remote viewing is just a trained protocol. So anyone can do remote viewing. Once again, they'll be at different levels, but it's generally been used as an intelligence gathering tool. But you can find information. One of the ways it's described is you can see anywhere or any when, and you can move probable futures in the past. And seeing into the past, that might sound humorous.
Not at all.
The old joke, the psychic
the
psychic who claims you could see into the past. It doesn't sound that clever, but for historical things, it could be quite interesting. There's online, Corny Brown, the guy that wrote the book that triggered my interest in remote viewing. He has a group called the Farsight Institute, and he had set for some of his remote viewers. The target was, and all they had was a series of random numbers, but the target was Jack the Ripper.
Really?
Now,
how interesting is that?
When I mentioned earlier on that I'd made mistakes and so on, there you can go into remote viewing in a very foolhardy way. That sort of happened. I done some, let's say, silly things without even realizing at the time.
Are you happy to share
I can,
if you're happy
yeah,
to?
I'll double back to that in a minute. But this particular case, Courtney had sent three of his remote viewers to look at Jack the Ripper. And in session, they're doing the session, and you actually watch as these young girls actually start breaking down. They're going, "Oh my God, this is horrible. This is
really."
It's you can be, if it's not done well.
Yes.
You can be putting a remote viewer to see something that they're really not going to see.
No.
And that video is available on YouTube. You can see that. And it's quite disturbing to watch because they had no idea what they're going into.
No.
So that was not a great idea by Courtney. The situation with me was when I first started remote viewing, and I was on the phone consistently to my mum, and she'd mentioned there was a high-profile murder case in the UK. And she'd asked me to have a look at that. Now, at that point, it basically stopped being remote viewing because that's front loading. I know what it is that I'm supposed to be looking at.
Right.
And this is where remote viewing, as I say, has to be done blind, because otherwise your imagination would just start making things up. So I knew that this was something to do with a high-profile murder case. But I'd went in without thinking what it was I could possibly see. And I started getting some very interesting information, pictures, and I'm drawing it as best I could. Some of it was very unpleasant. And I got quite nervous about this. And I thought I'd actually get this information to the Sussex police who are running this particular case. But not wanting to be involved directly, I contacted a policeman that I knew of, a guy called Tony Dodd, who was a UFO investigator. He's passed on now. And Tony Dodd agreed to forward the information onto the police. So I was using fax machines then. So So I draw the pictures. Yeah. I give the descriptions. And Tony passed those details on. And that was basically the end of it there. But a few weeks later, I thought I'll go in and have another go. And I got some really graphic, really unpleasant things that made me feel quite uncomfortable. And it hit me so hard. I thought I've got to talk to the police now. And as I rang up the Sussex police, and I got put through to the guy in charge, and I said, "Listen, I don't want to waste your time. I'm a novice at something." This is in 1990, about 1999, I think it was, thereabouts. I said, "I'm a novice at something called remote viewing." And the policeman went dead quiet. And then the next thing he said just put chills down my spine. He said, "Have you ever worked for any government bodies or intelligence agencies before?" And I'm thinking, bloody hell, he knows exactly what I'm talking about. So I said, "No, I haven't. I'm in Adelaide, in Australia. My mum's asked me to have a look, and this is what I've got." And so I sent them all the information. Didn't hear anything back, and didn't expect to. You wouldn't be involved like that. A few years later, I emigrated back to the UK. The guy that had actually performed the murder of this particular girl had been caught. I'd described his house. I described where he was. The evening that this particular girl had disappeared, he claimed that he was at a fairground. One of the images I had was looking down from his garden and seeing a Ferris wheel, a big wheel spinning in the. So that was the only confirmation I got from that. But you can get yourself into all sorts of trouble. There's a guy who's done wonders for remote viewing in the UK called Daz Smith, and like me, he found remote viewing in the early days. Daz went down a different avenue and got involved with the Stargate remote viewers. He wanted to get involved and help people and find missing children and solve murders and all this sort of thing. And he was working with a group of friends. He taught them remote viewing, and he's put out lots of free books. And they thought, well, there's a local murder that's occurred. Why don't we give this information to the police? Unfortunately, what happened, through the information that Daz had provided, he became at one point a prime suspect in the murder.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were going to say, actually, because it depends who you're dealing with, don't you?
Yeah.
That could happen. It really could happen.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
So Daz, I think
that.
he got. I think they're trying to fingerprint him and take DNA tests and all this sort of stuff, and it really made his life hell. So it's generally suggested to any.
Yeah.
What's that?
Has he stopped doing it?
Yeah, stop doing it now. Yeah, it's basically suggested that if you are remote viewing and you're getting some good results and you want to help, the best thing to do is to contact the police, tell them about it. Quite often, if they're interested at all, they might get you to work a cold case, something that they've given up on as a possibility, and go in that way.
Yeah.
But to do it the way I did it and the way Daz did it back then is a bit foolhardy and can get you into a bit of grief.
Can you get, I mean, if you want to be a remote viewer, I mean, is this like a full-time paid job? You know, people can people apply?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
It is. There's two stories here. Daz that I've just mentioned, like me, he was a graphic artist and photographer and so on there. He now does work for a group called the Future Forecasting Group, and they're predicting Bitcoin, all these sorts of currency exchanges. This is his full-time job now, basically doing remote viewing. They also do mystery targets, so the interesting things like UFOs and that type of thing.
Do you know, the thing that confuses me with that is if out in the collective consciousness, out in the harmonic frequency, whatever we want to call it, that everyone's tapping into, if there's infinite possibilities, how do they know their predictions are the right ones? You
don't. All you can actually jot down is what you get. And in any remote viewing situation, it's you have to write down everything, because if you come afterwards and sort of say, "Oh, I did see that," they'll say, "Well, you didn't write it down." It's after the fact. So jot down everything. You'll get some stuff right. You won't get all of it right. And remote viewing isn't 100% perfect. Even in intelligence circles, it's to be used in addition to other information that you have. It's not to be used as a sole source of information or intelligence. Daz is obviously doing well enough there that
absolutely. I'm convinced Kerry goes off. I keep telling her in the night, because remote viewing
goes off in the night.
Yeah, astral traveling. Right. Okay. Do you think it's a similar thing?
Similar thing, yeah. Putting your intention, or you're traveling out there. Astral traveling is slightly different again, but once again, there are elements of that can be used in remote viewing. One of the American remote viewers, Dave Morehouse, describes his method where he was basically out there looking at things, turning his body around in various directions to see what was going on, communicating with entities. There are all of these modalities and methods. They're all linked. They're all tied in. Sort of, ghosts, psychic phenomena, UFOs, poltergeists, all of this thing. I'm certain are all part of the same big thing.
Big thing, because you have some epic dreams, but they're really powerful, aren't they? And things really happen in them. And
I do have pretty epic
things.
Well, I won't say manipulate.
Well,
I do have some pretty epic. If I go deep into a meditation, I can go places. But I feel, based on what you're saying, if somebody gave me something, I could do it pretty easily.
I think you should.
I'm in the wrong job.
Give it a crack. Yeah, I mean, with remote viewing, as I say, proper remote viewing, there are certain things that have to happen, and one of them generally, the remote viewer is to be blind. You give the session in, but the other thing is you actually get feedback as well there, so you get validation as to what it is that you've been looking at. Otherwise, if you don't know, you don't know. So you could be right, you could be wrong. Remote viewing, you'll have some kind of feedback. And so for me, in the early days there, when I waited 40 minutes for a crop circle to come up, that was my validation. That's what kept me going. And
well, as a human ego, we need that validation. I mean, stuff that I get, I'm like, I don't know, but it's always lovely to hear. Yes, my dog is wearing a red collar and has a pink bowl. It's nice to get that validation.
Yeah. And it builds in the subconscious as well. The last few sessions I've tried to move have been rubbish, really. And I suffer with insomnia, and I've got a deviated septum, and I have obstructive sleep apnea. So my sleep is utterly terrible. And the last few times I've tried to actually remote view, it's just been pointless. So I've just put it aside for the time being.
Yeah.
But it doesn't stop me talking about it, because when you hit it, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's
wow.
really good.
I think you should give it some some energy, because I keep joking with you and saying,
I
where are
know.
you remoting now, don't I? So
You
I
do.
think it's definitely something that you
I don't know.
that you
Yeah, I could set
do.
a couple of targets.
Yes,
Really?
do that.
Oh, I'd love
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
I think you should do it as well. No, I think you should. I think
All
you
right,
trust
I'll
it.
go.
Honestly, we'll definitely do that. On a light-hearted note, there's going to be people out here listening. Right, well, this remote viewing, can I, check out my missus in the shower or something like that? I mean,
If you want to see, I'd say just open the bathroom door and have a look.
well,
It's a lot easier.
yes, that is true. But what I'm saying is people out there probably thinking, I mean, is there etiquette with this?
There is etiquette.
Yeah.
There is etiquette. And in the training that I did there, it's basically always do it, for the empowerment of humankind, effectively there, and always with good intentions. Whether I'm sure people have actually used it for the wrong intentions there. There is a phrase in remote viewing which is beware the unknown tasker, and a tasker is someone who actually wants to know, who has a question, basically.
Yeah.
And in remote viewing circles, you would go through perhaps a project manager, say, this is the question that I want to ask. Can you put it to your remote viewers? So the project manager choose some remote viewers, allocate a target, but you have to really make sure that you know what it is that this person is actually wanting to find out. This is another story I've got here as well, but I mean, you could be dealing with someone who's trying to find someone on the someone who the police have basically hidden.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it could be a criminal who's looking for someone who's sold them out to the police, for example. I've forgotten the phrase that.
Someone's under protection.
Protective sort of custody there. So it could be someone like that. Who is after information. So always beware the unknown tasker, and make sure that certain safety settings are in place. Certainly people can use it for the wrong reasons. The Americans, the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency, the DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, they were all using remote viewing at some point. They were using them to actually find smugglers coming in on boats there. Apparently the remote viewers saved them millions because they were able to pinpoint in what panels that drugs and so on were being hidden. But obviously it was thought later on that the drug dealers would possibly have been using remote viewing themselves there to find out other information. So it's a...
Do you know, this just goes to show, doesn't it, that it kind of begs the question now, if as human beings, we are capable of so much. As you say, everybody's capable of doing this with the right training.
Yeah.
The capacity we have as human beings to tap in to kind of unlimited potential is huge. But it doesn't say on the news, the remote viewers were able to catch the...
No.
Why?
Yeah, well, it's looked at, it's a giggle factor.
Exactly.
It's looked at and it's poo-pooed. It's basically that I think there is a feeling out there where they try and put this and make people feel stupid for doing it. But it's been around for thousands of years, going way back when the Yoga Sutras, which were compiled by a guy called Patanjali, and he actually wrote about these various attainments, which are called siddhis, and these are basically the ability to go and see distant places, to see distant times, to see or read the minds of other people there. This is effectively remote viewing in a sense. I mean, this is written 300 BC. The siddhis were taken from oral teachings which went back, possibly several thousand years, possibly even 10,000 years. I've been reading. So civilization has been doing this for a very long time. And we are more than the physical body.
100%.
Definitely.
As you say, it's turned into a laughing factor, and I really believe that doesn't make it right though. Just because I believe it, that because it's not out there, because it would make us so powerful if people really could tap into that their potential.
Absolutely.
Imagine how powerful as human beings we would be.
Yeah.
The powers that be don't want us to know these things.
Hence shutting the pineal gland down.
They'd rather sort of keep us all sort of compliant and under the thumb. And what we are is something really very, very special. Yes, I saw the recording you did with Geo the other week. He was talking about the pineal gland and the sort of crystals and the way it sort of all works. And I can't remember if you mentioned, but it also has rods and cones in the pineal gland there, similar to our own eyes there, which obviously allows you to see or get visual imagery. quite often when I go into a state sort of breaking or going down from alpha through to theta, I get these flashes, rings, and it's like a signal to me that you're going in. You're starting to get to the place.
I think I've been there just a few times, and then I'm out.
Out again.
I'm out. It happened once. I went to a breathwork weekend with Star Magic, Jerry Sargent. I don't think they've ever heard of him.
No.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was some really intense. There was all different types of breathwork, but this particular one was really intense. And it was all about opening, the pineal gland through breath and holding your breath and everything else. And all of a sudden, here, just like you, there was this triangle. And it went up and it was surrounded at the top with kind of light.
Right.
And I felt this pop. I heard this. It just went.
Wow.
And there was just like this stillness and then back in the room.
Yeah.
You were activated?
Yeah. So disappointing. It's like, no.
It's hard to stay in state.
No.
Very much hard to stay in state, isn't it? I've been trying to do sort of out of body things. In 2017, I'd heard about a group called the Monroe Institute.
Yes.
It's a guy called, yeah. Okay, so Bob Monroe.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know, had a series of out of body experiences. So he was in bed one evening. He was thinking about. He wanted to go and fly his plane. I think it was a glider, and he was imagining himself sort of flying the glider, and that's what he was going to do that weekend. And the next thing he knew, he felt something hard in his face, and he realised it was the ceiling. And he turned around and looked down and saw there was his bed, and there was his wife in bed, and there was a man in bed with his wife, and it took him a second to realise that it was him. So Bob had these very bizarre experiences. He did some work with binaural beats. He was a recording engineer, I believe. And so he put together the Monroe Institute, which enables or helps enable people to pop out of the body. That's it in very, very brief. I'm probably doing it a great misjustice or injustice. In 2017, there was a Gateway Voyage program, which is the signature Monroe Institute course where you train to go out of body. And funny enough, prior to going to this, I'd never been to Ireland before, and I thought, okay, I'd like to see a bit more of the place. I knew I was going to be in Ireland doing this course, which meant blindfolds, earphones, and I thought I don't want my entire week to be just lying on a bed with blindfolds on. That's no way to see Ireland. And I thought, well, I'll also see if there's anyone there that knows anything about remote viewing. So I sort of typed in the internet, and I came across this guy called Paul O'Connor. I thought, brilliant. I'll tell Paul that I'm going to the Monroe Institute. He'll obviously know about it because it features in remote viewing law. And see if he wants to meet up for a beer and a bit of a chat. And I just started typing in his email address, and this thing in my head said, don't worry, Paul will be on the course with you. I thought, okay, I'm just going to let that slide. So I let it slide. Didn't send the email. Flew across to Ireland, got picked up, got to the place. I was the only person there who had a room by myself. And the reason I managed that is because I mentioned the sleep apnea and the various problems.
Yeah.
I snore like a rutting walrus. It's not good. So if I was paying almost $1,000 on a course, I'm not going to want to be lying next to a guy who snores like that. So I got shown to my room and put my bags down, and I walked down the stairs, and this guy comes up to me and says, "Hello, my name's Paul O'Connor." And the first words I said to him, "I effing knew you'd be here." And that was we became tight friends ever since.
Really?
The next year we were in Vegas at the International Remote Viewing Association conference together. We've been tight friends ever since.
Fab, isn't it? I mean, it's. I mean, I just love all of this because I had 2 years ago I had an NDE, but that isn't about this at all. But the reason that I'm saying this is because I came out of my body, and I was up on the ceiling looking down, and so I know without a shadow of a doubt that our body and our consciousness are completely separate. They're two completely separate things. And so since then, I just want to explore the possibility and the potential of that. It's because I know You know, I know, and you know,
thing, yeah.
Kerry knows, and it's, you know, we just keep talking to these people, but it's just proof after proof, potential. It's amazing.
It is. As Dean Radin, who's the chief scientist at the Institute of Noetic Sciences, says, anyone who doesn't believe in sort of psychic functioning, ESP, any of these things, they simply haven't looked at the studies and the evidence. If you look at it, it's in black and white there. It's empirical. They've got the information. It's no longer a case of, does this exist? It does. It does. It's just, what can we do with it? How far can we push it?
Yeah. What I'm finding a common message with all our guests that are coming on, we are incredibly powerful at energy, and what we can do and achieve is just incredible. And I think a lot of us, we limit ourselves, don't we? We put so many limits, and we're just so powerful.
Yeah.
I
like everybody there, I have these, you know, these moments of sort of self-doubt and you know, sort of thinking, you know, can I do this? You know, is it possible? And say, no, we are incredible creators.
I think, though, if somebody like yourself who's experienced it, to have those moments of doubt shows the absolute programming, conditioning we go through since birth.
Absolutely.
And so for people that are not open to this at all, you can't blame them, really, because there's so many files and programs running to keep us away from it.
It's interesting. When I mention remote viewing, how often the people say, I've never heard of that, and they draw a blank face, and I think, how can you not have heard about this? And it's, for some people as well, there's a level of cognitive dissonance. I had a friend down in Cornwall once who said, Jules, you know, I love you, you're a smart, you're a funny, you're an intelligent guy, but every time you talk about this stuff, I just want to hit you. He said, I cannot deal with what it is that you're saying. And for him, it was just something else. It just didn't cross his field. No. It happens for some people. It doesn't for some.
Why do you think people react that way? Because people, they get really agitated. They get angry. Oh, no. Yeah. Why, in your opinion, why do you think people...
It's outside. It is this cognitive dissonance there. And a lot of it we saw over the whole sort of COVID sort of episode over the last few years as well. There, people were just sort of are locked in. Fear keeps people locked in as well there. And it is years and years of conditioning, and to be told that something that all of their lives they haven't believed is actually true, that for some people that can be very, very difficult. And one thing I've sort of I'm appreciative. I'm glad that I can do now. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I sort of try and learn from a situation. There. We build up opinions over the years there, and we just have our perceptions of it there, and we're always trying to place all of this together. And it's our own conscious mind, and we have a picture. And if something breaks that, then it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult. And so some people will respond quite unpleasantly.
Yes, it is funny. Sometimes I get really excited with Craig, and then I can see him just. I go, you're not really interested in that. And he'll go, no.
The glaze over.
You see the point when you just.
I know.
Craig has just left the building.
Exactly.
He's remote viewing elsewhere.
Exactly. But we laugh about that, though, don't we? With people, do. I think that's why it's important to, have friends that are on the kind of the same wavelength that you can share it with. It's kind of,
and it's been respectful and mindful. It depends where people are on their consciousness, and it's just where they are.
Absolutely. So everyone's at different parts of the journey, and
of course,
with all of this stuff there, I don't know of anyone who has the whole thing. All of us have a little bit of it, and we just need to sort of look and listen, and so we can form a better picture of the whole. I have a tiny bit of it. You guys will have your own sort of aspects, and these are all very, very important and very valid. And we just got to bring it all together and find some sort of coherence in order to try and find the answers.
And that's it, isn't it? That's
absolutely
hopefully what we're doing. I think the thing that I find is the more I learn, the less I know.
We keep saying that, don't we?
We do.
I know absolutely bugger all.
Yes, we are students.
It's like, and trying to put it into your human conscious processes is really really difficult.
It is,
you know,
yeah.
really difficult, but it's so exciting.
It is.
Yeah,
isn't
definitely.
it? What a wonderful path and life it is.
It is.
Yeah.
And with remote viewing, I recommend to anyone to actually give it a try. And there are plenty of courses and books and all sorts of things that people can do. Just
We're
to give
on
it
it.
a crack. when you get a hit, when you get a really good hit, and you've drawn information from nowhere, you've been given. I mean, the numbers don't even count.
Yeah.
They're completely irrelevant. It's just a mental anchor for the viewer to use. But from even an odd alphanumeric random target number, and suddenly you start drawing all of this information, and you get shown what the target was, and you're looking at your pages, and you've practically drawn this, and you've named people, and that is amazing, and the excitement level is there. And it doesn't always happen, but it's
an experience that I had. Somebody showed me a photograph of somebody who they were concerned about, who was dating. No, they weren't dating. They were married to her sister. And I had a real horrific response to this photo, and I felt sick. I was heaving. And there was an investigation going on, and I didn't say it to her at the time, but I just had this strong feeling that he was drugging her and messing with her medication. And that was not me going into meditation. That was an intuitive, information. But at the time, I didn't feel it was appropriate to say that. But I did speak to a friend about it, and turns out he was in the end.
Wow.
So, and there's been a whole ongoing investigation with other things. So,
what was that terrible case in France, wasn't there? The chap was drugging his wife there and basically inviting half the neighbourhood out to do.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah, it's just absolutely horrendous. And she thought, she was just very, very ill. So there are some strange minds out there.
There is.
Yeah.
But with that information, you have to be mindful.
Yeah, you do. That's the thing.
Because of, so
it's very, very delicate.
It is very, very difficult. So for anybody that's listening and they're like, okay, I'm really interested in remote viewing. I mean, what's your vision forward? Are you going to be doing any more talks about this?
I've got a talk coming up on the 13th of October at a place called Katie Fitzgerald's in Stourbridge, which is for a Facebook group called the Free Thinking Society.
Yes.
So if you
will
like to,
even be,
I'm sort of working on a full PowerPoint presentation, and I sent some pictures along in the files there. So one of my best sessions, which you guys have a copy of, we can discuss that at some point. But I'll be showing the sort of history of remote viewing, the American project, how they started, Stargate, going into my own experiences with remote viewing. I'll be showing the hits. There's no point in me showing you the stuff that didn't work, because that's not interesting. And certainly talking about my thoughts on where it's possibly going. You've got stuff like the telepathy tapes as well there. I don't know if you've come across those podcasts.
No, but yes,
That's
really telepathy tapes.
Telepathy tapes. Yeah, that's there's a woman called Kai Dickings who I think it's become the biggest podcast in the world, or very, very close.
Oh, really?
And she started working with some doctors who are working with non-verbal autistic children, and basically doctors have been telling the families for years these are basically non-thinking vegetables. They were been very unkind there, and inside they're trapped, and these kids are all communicating with each other. They visit a place called the Hill, and they talk to each other. They learn. The telepathy tapes is something very, very interesting, and that's a whole
I will definitely, because I knew about studies for this. I know there was a study about autistic children, so it might be kind of tapping slightly into that, who had no capacity to learn in the way that we would learn, and yet they were articulating huge intelligence, and the study suggested that they were tapping into a collective consciousness.
Something else,
That's the only way they could get the information. So they're special, autistic.
Absolutely, yeah. And
really, really special humans.
The parents of these children as well have just felt absolutely horrified there, because they believe what they've been told by doctors and so on there, but they're discovering that in some cases There's one particular guy who's like a musical sort of virtuoso who's creating all his tunes, but he wasn't able to express because his body wouldn't allow him to do so.
They're so I've worked with autistic young adults, and they taught me so much. They're so intelligent, really. You just need to learn how to tap in.
Absolutely.
To that. They're thinking, wow, we're so powerful.
Yeah.
We are so powerful. We are. All are, yeah.
We are so.
Well, it's been such a pleasure to have you.
Really has.
It's been lovely speaking with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really brilliant, really insightful.
Yeah.
And do you think you'll are you looking to do kind of workshops or to help people, guide people to do remote viewing? Or
That's ultimately a goal. Is because if I can do it, anyone can do it there, and that is something I'd like to do. And I don't feel I'm sort of trained enough yet, and I've been doing it since 1997. So and I'm still not.
Well, listen, I have the place to run the workshop. So, and me and Kerry would like to be on your workshop, and I'm sure we know lots of people that would. So
absolutely,
let's have a chat about it.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm working on a documentary at the moment. I'm hoping to launch a podcast similar to you guys, what you're doing here, because it's important to get this information out.
Definitely.
And when you're passionate about it, there, absolutely, it's when you're genuine, people start to see that, and it's this. We are something else. We are something special, and we're something to be celebrated. And we all need to realise that.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of Shift Happens. Oh, my God, that was so insightful. So my question to you would be, if you could remote view, where would you go and remote view? Right, shifters, please can you subscribe to our channel and please comment below. And if anybody comments, the first person to comment will get a Shift Happens mug sent to you. Thank you.